Podcast, episode number 44. Today we're joined, first of all, my name is Dustin. I'm joined with Tyler, the superhuman again, and today we got a special guest, Mr. Tony Long.
Good morning.
Morning. Tony was with us before we got our black belts, training a little bit. I personally feel like he was one of those people that turned the light on for me.
Yep. I try to be that.
Yeah, no. And what I mean by that is like, you get close to a goal and or accomplishing something. You may be working on it really hard and diligently, and it was one of the things that you brought stuff down to a micro level for me personally. There were a couple of things that, like, in just goofing around before class and practicing, which I really loved, there was always these little tidbits of information that you were like, no, do this. Try it like this. Put your hands here. Cover your center line, that kind of thing. And it was just like, oh, wow. Hey, here's this little light switch that came on, and it's like, oh. It didn't like, it wasn't like...
They weren't revolutionary.
No, it wasn't revolutionary, but it was like, it was like the secret ingredient that mom puts in the spaghetti,
right?
Or whatever that makes it mom's, or makes it makes it like, that's right.
I always try to emphasize the basics in so much of what I do, and that's been my focus with my teaching is basic technique. I make sure you have a good middle stance. Make sure you work on your punches and your kicks, and obviously we work on that all the way through our martial arts career. Yeah, you still work on it. I still work on it. But at the same time, it's something you're always going to be working on, but you want to focus on getting those little things, because all the little things add up to such a big result at the end.
For sure.
And that's been like my cornerstone in the back of my mind. And literally, one of my students is going to be sitting here and laughing at this, but it's all technique. It's all technique. We have this going argument where he's like, oh, the target is the most important. I'm like, no, technique is. I have control over technique.
I don't have control over where the target is.
Well, sometimes you do, but you need the technique to do that.
Yes, you are right. Sometimes you do, but that's not it can be predictable.
Yeah.
But for the most part, somebody equally skilled as you, the technique needs to be first. I agree, because although you can predict where the target is, you can't control where it's at all the time.
Exactly.
Unless they're stationary.
Unless they're standing there like a dummy, just waiting for you to hit them.
If it's a punching bag,
exactly.
you can definitely control where that target
exactly.
is.
One of the things that always stood out to me about you and your training, because you came in, into my training when I was, I think, about a purple belt.
I think it was like advanced blue, purple, right around there.
Yep, right around there. And so one thing that always stood out to me from then until now is you were always the word I keep coming back to is polished. You want to polish your blocks, polish your technique. That's what we're talking about right now. It's technique. And, that having a polished technique, a polished block, a polished strike, that you can't beat that. You can't beat polish. That's something that you really taught me. So that's...
Well, and it's because everything that happens with when we're actually utilizing this stuff, it's all going to come out in how much you've worked on the basics, all of your fundamentals. The more you work on it, the better they will be applied in an actual situation where you need to use it, whether that be sparring or in an actual self-defense scenario. It's all going to boil down to how much have you practiced, how much have you put into your muscle memory, how good is it? How much effort did you put in? Because the more effort you put into it, the better it's going to look, the better it's going to come out, the more accurate you're going to be with that technique. And then the target will be applicable because you'll be able to hit whatever target you want.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that. And it goes back to I have a firm belief. So there's these thoughts that people are born with talent. and there's either people that are. So let me just flesh
Right,
this out.
right.
People are
Flesh this
born.
idea.
Let me. Yeah.
You're probably going exactly what I'm thinking.
So people are born with talent, and you either have talent or you don't. And I heard this story one time of this guy that was a really good shooter, owned a gun store, and he went to train with some high level. They were doing some like trap or skeet shooting, some high level shooting, and they went out to the range, and this competition teacher shooter was working with this other guy, and the teacher they were shooting all day, and they were both shooting 25 targets each time, and they were both neck and neck, and eventually the competition teacher turned to the other guy that owned the gun store, and he said, hey, you're good, but you don't got talent. Eventually you're gonna miss. And I heard that story, and I just frankly don't agree with that. I don't think that there's something as far as like that's not something an idea that I would give out. And it goes back to have you ever seen a baby a baby that just knew how to play the piano? No, yeah. They had to learn how to do it. And so I that's not an idea I would put out there, but polishing, hard work, that you just can't beat those things,
Polishing, hard work, definitely. I think that there is a fraction of an application to the talent thing. Like, there's certain things that I can't control. Like, I can't control how tall I am. I can't control the length of my arms. I can't control the length of my legs. I can't control some things, but there are a lot of things I can control. I can control my attitude. I can control how much effort I put in. I can control when I show up. There's lots of things.
If you show
up.
If
I show up.
Yeah, if you show up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, just that effort being put in, that's most of it. That little bit of talent is going to boil in on like the very top edge of competition. When you're talking about like the best of the best. Mm-hmm. And the people that have talent, yeah, they're going to have that slight edge up there. But so the question is are you willing to outwork them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that the story that I've always heard about talent and hard work is like the talented people usually quit when it gets hard.
Yeah.
Because it was so easy in the beginning.
Exactly.
And the people that are just they just suck, so they work harder. I've always appreciated that.
Right.
That story. I had a friend growing up who seemed to be able to do anything. Like he could draw. Like he was an artist. He could do a life portrait of you with a pencil, and like in an hour or two have a rough sketch, and you'd be like, yeah, that's me. That's what I look like. Like holy crap. He took to it. Just seemed like everything he did. He took to it like a duck to water. And I was always so envious. I grew up with this guy for a little bit. I was always so envious of him.
But he probably stopped doing them all eventually.
Well, like, he still...
It sounds like ADHD. It
he
really
still
does.
that. and I'm pretty sure he has ADHD.
It's the hyper-focus in it.
Yeah.
You sit down and you literally engulf yourself in something.
And that's what he would do. Like, I remember... there's so many different little things that... I would bring something new because I was always into like trying something new. Like I wanted to experience as much as I could. So I'd like, hey, check this out. I got a hacky sack. And like we'd spend a couple of weeks trying to do that. And he would like get the basics down and then just shoot. And I'm like, what?
It's because he spent every single second in any minute thinking about the mechanical movements of his body with that hacky sack and how to move it. If he wasn't doing hacky sack, he was thinking about hacking sack. Yeah. And the reason that I understand this is because I'm the exact same way with martial arts. I just never gave it up.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I spend so much time thinking about martial arts. There's not a time in my life where if I have idle moments, I'm thinking about a punch or a kick or a lock or a hold or something, some kind of body movement that has to do with it. And I'm not even just thinking about the thing itself. I'm thinking about the physics behind it, how the body's moving, how their body should move, like how each things are going to interact. So like I spend a lot of time in my brain just mulling things over and thinking about if they will work. So I'll walk into class and be like, hey, I want you to do this. I want to see if this will work.
check this out.
You said you'd be at like working and just thinking about
it's
the
funny,
mechanics of a move or something.
Oh yeah, no, I so my day job, I run lab tests in a engineering firm on like rock, asphalt, concrete. And after you get to the point where you've done the tests, several thousand times, it kind of becomes routine. So my mind's free to wander and think about other things while I'm sitting there going through the motions on this stuff until something either goes wrong or something either
is abnormal.
Is abnormal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I gotta focus now.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll be sitting there thinking about like different punches and kicks, and gosh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I just never got bored of it. Even like, and part of it was because of a necessity as a kid. Like I was scrawny and picked on a ton. And it's funny because at first my parents didn't put me in there for me. They put it in there for my brothers. My brother got into a fight at school. But the second I found out that he was in, I'm like, whoa, why am I not doing this? Let me in.
So, yeah, let's back up a little bit. When did you get into martial arts?
I got in, I think it was 1991. It was 93. Hold on, let me think. I was 10. No, it was 96. Must have been 96.
Okay.
I don't know why now those other two numbers got in my head. Because I know I was about 10 or 11, and I got in, and I started training with Sensei Blue at the Anderson...
At the rec center?
At the rec center, yep, when I was a kid. I was there for a long time. I trained for about 3 or 4 years there with him, and then I took a break because I wanted to do scouts, ADHD kicking in.
Yeah. And so you went to Boy Scouts?
Went to Boy Scouts, and then I went and I did a summer job one year, but I ended up going back to training. I didn't train with... I'm going to totally mess up her name. I think her name is Betty. I forget her last name. But there's another black belt in the area that took over the school for a while.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember her full name. I know her name starts with a B. It's not Betsy because she's in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But her name starts with a B, and she took over the class for a little while. I think it was a year or two. And then Blaine took over after that.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there was bouncing around. But I trained with her for a little while. And I ended up getting to the point where I was at an advanced green belt before I went off to college at the University of Nevada, Reno. And I took Taekwondo over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So martial arts is something that's followed you ever since it was...
And when it didn't, my life felt incomplete.
I agree.
It felt like something was wrong the entire time. Like I just wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I think part of it is just all of the health benefits, the mental benefits for doing martial arts. Like you feel better after you leave. And for me, like it was the dopamine, 1000%. Like don't get me wrong, like dopamine makes you feel good, right? So like obviously you're getting the exercise, you're getting the social interaction. I'm learning something that I absolutely love to learn. Like all of those things line up with an ADHD personality. It's like, I get all the dopamine when I'm here. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, I mean the only way it would be better is if you could hit a button and get it.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Oh man, I just stay home. Done. Actually, that'd be perfect because then I could just go through and do my daily tasks. Like task completed, dopamine.
Yeah,
done.
Yeah. I just put a brick on the button and walk away.
Yeah, perfect. Problem solved.
Yeah. If it was only that easy. But no, I totally agree. And there are like scientific research done on the positive impact of exercise, whether it's lifting weights or yoga or martial arts.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there's tons of research.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't pick martial arts, pick something.
Yeah. Well, my argument for that is the body is made to be moved.
Yes.
It's made to be in motion.
Oh, absolutely.
You should move. You should do something. I just happen to prefer punching and kicking.
It's so funny because, like, I absolutely hate running. I loathe it.
Mm-hmm.
But for, like, the last 2 months, I've been doing this 75 hard thing.
Yeah.
And I've been working out 45 minutes twice a day. And I picked running. And I did it because I hate it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason I picked it is because I knew my body would be like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, because it'd be easy just to grab a couple of dumbbells and just curl.
It's just stupid. Do that for 45 minutes, easy mode. No problem. Like, I was like, and like what I'll do is I need to lift more weights, actually, because I'm losing a ton of weight, but I'm not filling it back out. So I need to start, like, working on the opposite direction now gaining weight. So it's like, it's a weird mechanic. I haven't had that problem in a while.
Right on. So you're running. though?
So I'm running though, and it's literally the worst thing in my life. But it's funny. It's funny. So you just started this week, right, Tyler?
Yep, I started this week.
How's that going for you?
Man, there's been, the first couple days we're adjusting to something new. And then when you get further on, like where I'm at now, it's gotten to the point where I'm starting to actually see a lot of the results of it. But it's also in conflict with like, that voice that pops up in your head.
You're hearing it now, right?
Yep. I heard him this morning, and I was like, man. And it's like, oh, well, you can just take today off. Like,
so, I'll warn you, most people fail within day 10 and day 20. So that's going to be the hard point for you. That's when your mind is going to be at its most kickback. It's going to be trying to force you because you're going to be tired. Your legs are going to hurt. Your arms are going to hurt. Everything's going to hurt. You're going to have muscles that are going to be wanting to give out. Don't give in. That's the hard part. You get through that, and then you start to see the other side of it. I'm at day 53 right now.
Right on.
And I'm at the point where I don't hear that voice very often anymore. And
you still hear it.
I still hear it, but it's much, much quieter. Like I've pushed it down to the point where it understands I'm doing it. You don't get a choice anymore, and I know, and I have a feeling that if I keep pushing this way and I keep staying on this, that it'll almost silence. Like that voice was the reason that I started doing 75 Hard, because I recognized it existed beforehand, and I think part of it is because I spend a lot of time up in my head thinking, but I would be like, oh man, I really should start like waking up early and like exercising and at least going for a walk. And my brain would go, yeah, but 7 a.m.'s really early. Yeah. And like, do we really want to be tired before we go into work?
Just hang out in bed for a little longer.
The worst part about that voice is it's totally right. It's the best person to convince you not to do what you're going to do. It is you are the only person that can really convince you. Like, let's be honest here. Because you know everything you want to hear. Mm-hmm. So that little voice in the back of your head just starts telling you all the sweet nothings. All the lies. All the things you want to hear. Oh, the thing is most of them aren't even lies, though. They're all truths, but at the same time...
It's detrimental.
It's detrimental truths.
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, I told you about this story, Tyler, but I usually go out to lunch with my coworkers. I actually saw you.
Yeah, that's where we ran into each other.
So my coworkers go, hey, we really want to go to KFC. Is that all right with you? And I go, they probably have like some kind of grilled option. They don't, by the way. But so, and I'm like,
that was part of your diet?
That was part of my diet plan was I'm not eating any fried foods. That was part of it. Is I'm like, I'll eat out occasionally, but I pick the healthiest choice I can wherever I go, and I do my best to not eat anything fried, and I try my best to, like, if I have an option to choose something healthier, I do. Like it's not a complex. I try to keep it super
hard diet.
I try to keep it simple because I never had like a really bad relationship with food. Like I think part of it was just like I made just a few too many bad choices too often. Like I'd have a donut more often than I should. Like I'd eat like 2 plates of food instead of 1. Because when it's that good, it's hard to say no.
You want to enjoy that.
I want to enjoy it, right? Yeah. So I was following the dopamine, right?
Yeah.
So
you're at KFC.
So we're at KFC. We walk in, and like I let these other 2 guys go first because I have to look over the menu and figure out exactly what I need to eat. So I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like,
not that.
Fried food, fried food, fried food. Oh my God, I got through the whole menu. There's nothing here. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do? And then the voice kicks in hard. And it's like, well, we don't want to be the weird guy who doesn't order something and has to go somewhere else. I mean, like, come on. Like, it's one time. You did such a good job. We're on day 31. Like, really, man. You're doing great.
Yeah.
But it's one day. It's not that big of a deal. Like, come on. Like, it just starts tearing into me. And I'm sitting there in front of this poor girl.
Who's waiting
patiently for me to order. And I literally, the only words I can get out are like do you have anything that's not fried? And she's like, no. And then the voice kicks in even harder. And it just starts going into me. And I'm like, the only words I can get out after this, because I'm having an argument in my head. Like, literally, there is a literal war going on in my brain at that moment. Because I don't want to give into this. You know, I'm like, I need to do this. This is part of what I need to do. And the voice is just tearing in because it knows that this is my weak point right now.
And it's KFC.
And it's delicious. And I know that. And it smells amazing. And it smells amazing in there.
There's an addictive chemical in it that makes you crave it nightly.
Exactly. So I'm in there and I'm like, all I can get is, I can't. I just walk away from this poor girl at the register. And I pull out my phone and I immediately start looking for another restaurant. I'm like, there's got to be something nearby. And
where were you?
Over on Lake Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
And I find out there's a Subway like a stone throw away from there. I'm like, oh, thank God.
I'll be right back,
That's what I did. I'll be right back. And I ran over there, got a sandwich, and walked back. And I literally, like, it was the craziest thing. And because I'd experienced kickback with it before, but not to that extreme level.
Yeah.
And I came out on top. The old me would not have come on top on that. I would have given in immediately.
There would have
without
been no
question.
argument.
There would have been no argument.
Yeah.
None.
I'm saying that for myself too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh well.
Well, we're here.
Food and me have a very loving relationship.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing is that it's. I mean, me having ADHD and whatnot, like I wanted that dopamine. Mm-hmm. My brain knew it would give me dopamine. But the whole point of 75 Hard is it's not to lose weight. It's not to put yourself on this amazing diet. It's to harden your mind. It's like an Iron Man for your mind.
Yeah.
And so when that voice kicks up, that was a test.
Oh, yeah.
That was all a test. That was me seeing if I have hardened myself to that point where I can walk into the fires and come out okay, you know, because I was literally put in a worst case scenario. Only 30 days in, there is nothing I can eat here, nothing at all.
Yeah.
The only thing that isn't fried is potatoes, and that ain't part of the diet either.
Those are mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
Guess, yeah.
There's probably butter in those and all sorts of gravy and stuff. Like it's just. Whenever I can pick a better option, I have to pick a better option, right? Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I'll eat like a baked sweet potato on occasion with dinner, and that's actually a lot healthier in general. There's actually a lot of good benefits for eating sweet potatoes, but still, like Yukon white mashed sweet potato or regular potatoes, those are not part of the diet.
Yeah. Well, and the potato by itself is probably fine. It's all the stuff that you got to put into them to make them.
Yeah. Right.
The mashed potatoes.
Exactly.
Right?
What you were telling me before about the going running at night, and then you smell a certain.
Oh yeah.
I gotta hear this one.
No, so it's great because like part of the thing is like I just said, it's all about toughening your mind, right?
Yeah.
And so I started realizing that the smells around Main Street and Red Bluff all trigger that voice, and so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna start putting myself in it. I'm going to go out for a jog at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning, right in the middle of Red Bluff, and smell all the smells. I can smell the beer. I can smell all of, if I go a little bit earlier, I can smell the Chinese food from the Chinese food places and the Mexican food.
And the donut shop.
Have you ever smelled freshly baked donuts? Yes. It is intoxicating.
Oh yeah.
and
I used to. I'm going to interrupt you here for one
second.
Go for it. I used to work nights at a grocery store. I was I would order the groceries in stock, right? And at 3 o'clock in the morning, the bakers would come in and start baking donuts, and I would pray that they would mess up the donuts because they had to look a certain way, right?
Right.
And so I always loved it when they got a new baker in because he would mess up a whole batch.
Oh, man.
And they can either throw them away or I would eat them. So I would hang around the bakery while the new guy was baking and be like, hey, I'll take that one. I'd have a stack like 6 high and I would write my order and eat donuts. Well, I was like 21, 22. It didn't matter. I had a metabolism.
Yeah, when you're young, you can eat it.
Well, and I would be I knew that I would be throwing all of the freight that I ordered the next night. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to eat this whole stack. And I'm not kidding, like 10, 12 donuts and eat the whole thing. And right order. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it just smells amazing. And literally that donut smell, like that's the one that brought that voice in every time. Like, don't get me wrong, like the other smells all brought back memories.
And they all taste good.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, that donut smell, it is just
sugar-coated
pungent. it fills your nostril. And I make sure I run right by that donut place.
Yeah.
And I smell it every time. And every time I can hear that little voice going like, man, that smells really good. I'm like, you shut up. You get down where you belong. I'm in control now. And that's what I was doing. I was putting myself out there, and I was trying to coax it into trying to convince me. I'm like, come on out. I dare you. I dare you. Fight me for this. You know?
We're just going to run past it again.
We're just going to... Exactly. I did loops. I went by it like literally 20 times a night, just going out there, going through and putting myself right in the thick of it. And it hardened me.
Yeah.
Because that voice at first was, had a decent sound, and then it slowly started getting quieter and quieter, and realized that it wasn't going to be able to get it. And now I'm at the point where I can go out there and run, and I smell it, but the voice isn't talking to me anymore. It's not trying to tell me we should eat that, because it knows it ain't going to get it. But it's going to wait. And I know it's still in there.
It'll come out somewhere else.
There's going to be a time when I know that I'm at a weak point, and it'll be a test day. It'll be one of those days where everything's going wrong, and then it's gonna see if it can dig in. And like I had a day like that earlier this week where I was just exhausted, and I got home and it was midnight, and I still had reading to do, and I still had a 45-minute workout to do, and all I want to do is go to bed. And I'm like, you know what? No, we're doing this. We're gonna stay up till 1:30 in the morning if we have to get it done, but we're gonna get it done. And so I just did it. And it was kicking me a little bit while I'm out there. I'm out there yawning while I'm running, But still, like, you get it done. You don't make excuses. And I mean, the reality is that our bodies can handle a lot more than we give them credit for.
Well, and the brain.
And the brain is the first thing to go.
Yeah.
So if you can harden your brain to the point where you can push yourself through difficult and uncomfortable situations, like, your body will make it a lot of the time. I mean, I'm not saying to be crazy, but at the same time, like, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of convincing yourself that you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's funny. I haven't done the 75 hard. I did there was a couple other challenges I did with the.
And it's not a challenge. It's a program.
Okay.
Challenge is the way a challenge works is you start the challenge and you end the challenge. 75 hard, you have to think of it like a boot camp.
Okay.
You go through the 75 days, and there's a whole program afterwards to keep the ball going. But this is like a boot camp to harden your mind, to prepare you for what's to come.
To continue, like, setting up.
Yeah. It's not something that I'm planning on stopping. Like, this is me now. I'm going to continue doing this until the day I drop dead. And the reason is because it's given me back control. I like the version of me now far better than I liked the version of me 3-4 months ago. The version of me 3-4 months ago, I was probably about 20 to 30 pounds heavier than I am now. I wasn't making good choices as far as my diet. I was still working hard. I was still working like 60, 70-hour work weeks. I was working my regular job and then also teaching and, doing everything that comes along with that, like running my own class. So I was busy all the time. But at the same time, like, something was missing. Mm-hmm. And I knew something was missing. And the second I discovered this whole idea, everything just started falling into place. So the version of me now is a much more sharpened, focused, and I don't waste a minute of any day. I am always getting at it. Whether it be physical, whether it be mental, whether it be in my business, whether it be in my work life, anything, I am going after it.
Right on.
I'm sorry to cut you off,
No.
but that clarification needed to happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a
totally.
challenge. This is not something that you're supposed to start, finish, and then be proud of yourself and be done with. That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is
create life-changing habits.
This is life-changing habits. This is something that is supposed to take you from the version that yourself now into the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I wanted to meet that person.
Well, and everyone should.
And everyone should.
Meet that
but the problem with most
themselves.
people is that they're too in love with the way things are now. They're too attached to it. It's easy and it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And in order to make change, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I was saying, and I totally agree with everything that you just said.
Okay.
You're preaching to the choir.
Right? No, I know, right?
I have no argument. What I was saying is, Jocko did the Discipline Equals Freedom.
Yes,
Challenge.
yeah.
So I started.
That's
that.
another book I want to read, actually.
Okay,
So yeah,
that book, I have a copy and I can lend it to you if you want. It's great.
Cool.
But he did a contest and 2 years ago. And that's when I started this whole thing where, like, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. You
Nice.
had part of the deal was like you had to post
a picture of your watch at 4:30, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't. Just
That's what he
that.
does.
And that's
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years.
Okay, nice.
Every morning I wake up, except for Saturdays and Sundays, I've kind of slipped off the bandwagon with this new job. But I still wake up early.
Right.
But anyway, it was designed to create good habits.
Yes.
So, and it had a lot of similarities with the 75 Hard.
Right. And I had a feeling a lot of these guys who are all about discipline and building that whole concept, they all have very similar ideologies and thought processes. And I've actually spent a lot of time in the last few months just diving into that.
Yeah.
And just trying to become, and that's been like my current hyper fixation, is I'm going through and just like, I've got like different books over there, like Ryan Holiday, that book over there. I haven't read that yet.
He's the Stoic philosopher.
Yeah,
guy.
Stoic
Yes.
philosopher. I listened to him. I actually listened to him on the Jocko podcast,
Yeah.
talking about all the books he's written. I'm like, man, this guy gets it. Like,
Yeah.
I need to start reading his stuff. I want to start getting to. I forget the name of the book of Marcus Aurelius. Meditations. Meditations.
Yes.
And
I haven't read that.
I want to read that.
Yeah.
Because like that guy is pretty cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So all of those books, understanding Stoicism and all of the attributes that come with that, I feel like that's something that a lot of people... And here's the crazy part, is that it's implanted into martial arts. But I think even... and the one thing that I would say like is my main drawback with the system that we have currently is that it doesn't push those forwards more as it should, if that makes sense. Like, all of them come forward. And they show up in what you do, but at the same time, it's like almost like old school traditional martial arts, where it was kind of like don't ask, don't tell, and just do what I say, and then eventually you'll get these attributes. But I feel like it needs to be something where you're almost tested more often. And when you're going for your black belt, like those things, they have to come out of you. You know, you need to be disciplined. You need to be going to class. You need, and part of that is being courageous. Courageous, I believe, discipline and courage come hand in hand, because you have to be able to show up, right? You need to be going through and focusing and pushing forward. But all of those attributes, I need to do more research into them. I have a whole list of books right now that I'm getting ready to dig into.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, the best part of 75 Hard for me has been the reading, because I've been getting to read all these books that I told myself I was going to read for like years.
I have a collection of books that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to read those. Some of those I've had for like 20 plus years.
Yeah, exactly.
Crack them open.
Yeah, I'd say like half the books on my shelf I haven't read all the way through, but I've read through half of them now.
Yeah.
I've gone through like 4 books in the last month.
Right on.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, the reading has been nice, because forcing yourself to read 10 pages a day, it's almost like it's forced me to take like small chunks, and I'm just like, okay, like we're just going to do 10 pages a day instead of, you know, when I was a kid, I was like a voracious reader. I could read 100 pages in a day,
right.
But then how much of that did you actually remember? And at least for me, doing 10 pages a day,
you remember it.
Now I'm like, oh, wow, like I remember this from last night, and then throughout the day, I'll remember things from those 10 pages,
right.
Which has been great.
Which is why it's like really great during the program to read like Zen in the Martial Arts or like the Book of Five Rings, because those are meant to be ruminated on. They're not meant to be like burn through that whole book in one day, like, I got it, read the book. Yeah. It's meant to like, you read a passage and then think about it.
In the Book of Five Rings, he says, you should meditate on this.
Yeah, exactly.
You should think about this.
I mean, we're Americans, though. We want everything now. Well, actually, not even now. We want it yesterday.
Dude, yeah. Yesterday was too late in most cases.
Exactly.
and that's... I think that has provided us with a lot, because of that. Like, hey, I needed this yesterday, and that was too late then.
Yeah.
It's given us a lot, as a country, as people.
Yes.
But it's lost a lot of things along the way.
Right.
And one of those was like, hey, sit down and think about stuff.
Yeah.
Meditate on that. Actually, what does it mean when he says, you know, there's so many great quotes, but you know, what is this? What does this actually mean? Take the high ground, or the high ground's going to take you.
Right.
You know, know yourself and know your enemy. You know, victory is sure. That kind of thing. Yeah.
One of the things that that this 75 hard has done for you, and you've made it known, is you have it's strengthened your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And given you a renewed sense of like your willpower and meeting your best sense of yourself. What has that looked like, you know, by doing this program? You talked about you didn't like the person you were,
right,
3 to 4, or you didn't like him as...
Here's the thing, is that it's not that I hated him.
Right.
It's that I wanted to meet the best version of me more than I loved the person I was.
It's kind of like, you know who you are,
yeah,
but you're just a little bit disappointed.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right. It's not like you hate yourself, but you're just like, you know.
Well, and David Goggins put it this way, and when he said this quote, or this quote I'm about to quote him for, is like it hit me like a sack of bricks, because I never even thought about it. But and not to get religious, but whatever deity you believe in or anything, let's say you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go up before whatever entity it is that you meet when you die, and the entity starts naming off all of these amazing things, and like that, you're like, okay, this is okay, so Tony Long, martial artist, it starts naming off all these things, all these amazing accomplishments that you didn't actually do, and you say, wait, I didn't do those things. That's not me. And he's all, no,
it's what you could have.
It's what you could have been.
Yeah.
And that's just like, it hit me like a sack of bricks, because we only get one shot at this life thing.
Yeah.
And so much of us spend so many days, hours, years just wasting it away, sitting in front of the TV, playing video games, playing board games, doing alcohol, whatever else you're planning on doing. Like, we waste it away. And I was tired of not being the person that I knew I should be, because I knew that there was a version of me inside that was all of the things I had ever hoped and dreamed for. Ever since I was a teenager, I knew I was destined to be something great, and I don't mean that in a narcissistic way. I meant like there's something I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like there's something that I'm supposed to achieve, that I'm supposed to help the world with, that I'm supposed to help people with. And it started to dawn on me that if I didn't get my act together, I was never going to reach that. And so I had to dig deep and find something. And that's part of why I started looking inside my mind. You know, you conquer your mind first, and then your body will start to reflect how sharp your mind is. And that was ringing true for me for years, because I was slightly overweight. I wasn't in horrible shape. I could still move. I could still spar pretty darn good. But I knew there was more.
Yeah.
I knew there was something deep inside that was clawing at me to get out, that wanted to get out more than anything. And I was too afraid to take those steps in the direction, and I didn't even know where to go. So I started going inside my mind, because I knew that my mind was uncluttered. I knew that I was incapable of even organizing my house properly. So I started going into my brain, and I started figuring out what was going on in there. And I started realizing that I had symptoms of ADHD. I went through every single different psychology thing I possibly could to try to figure out what was wrong with me, because I always felt like something was off. And it's most definitely, I'd like to say, I have not been officially diagnosed, but I did find out that my mother has it, and that was the linchpin for me. She was diagnosed, and it's genetic. So it was passed down to me for sure. And like when you take a look at like the list of symptoms, it's like, oh, check. Mm-hmm. And so when I said, okay, so I have all these symptoms, what do these people do to make themselves work? Now, you could go and just jump on a drug and have that fix your problems, but that's never been the way that I want to solve things. I would rather go in and wrangle myself to the ground and control myself that way. And so what I did is, okay, let's figure out a system that works. And so I started researching different psychology methods that I can use on myself in order to control myself and get myself to do the things that needed to get done. And once I did that, my house started getting clean, everything started getting organized. I was able to actually control my mind better, I could focus better, and I could even still do the things I loved. So that was the first step, was me getting control of that basic part of my mind. And now I kept pushing a little bit harder because I knew that there was more, right? I knew that I needed more because I knew I needed to be better. I was still overweight. I had a much healthier way of eating at that point. Like I was cooking for myself more often. I was eating out less, but I'd still go out and, put down a pizza on occasion, just because like it's delicious
comfort.
and there's dopamine
It's awesome.
in it. And so it's a comfort food, right? So I realized that there was more. I wanted more. So I started looking into, I started just listening to podcasts from people talking. Like first I wanted to go and listen to Jocko, but I accidentally stumbled upon Andy Frisella, who does the Real AF podcast.
Oh yeah.
And that really resonated with me because I'm running my own martial arts business, and so I'm like, oh, CEO podcast, perfect. This is going to help me with this and that. And so I start listening to a few of his podcasts, and he mentions a power list, and I go, okay, a power list. Have you heard of this before?
No, I haven't.
So what a power list is the whole concept is you're giving yourself a list of things to accomplish each day. If you accomplish all those things, you win the day. You win enough days during the week, you win the week. You win enough weeks in the month, you win the week or the month. You win enough months, you win the year. Okay. Right? And the point is you keep winning, eventually you can't not reach your goals. Because you're winning more often than not, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I thought, okay, what goals do I need to set in order to reach these goals? So I start listing out all these things. I go, okay, I need to be on a diet. I need to be exercising. I want to read more. And so I literally named out everything that was in 75 Hard before I started doing it.
And then you're like, oh.
And then I didn't even know about 75 Hard. I actually named out the things I needed to do for 75 Hard before I found 75 Hard. And then when I found it, I was all, oh, this is way harder than what I put. Yeah, we should do this.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I hadn't even planned it that way, but and the nice part is that the power list itself becomes a thing that you add on in the first phase of 75 Hard.
Okay.
So like after you complete the boot camp and you are actually able to strengthen your mind, because the whole point of it is just to harden yourself.
Yeah.
And then the next phase is where things start getting really difficult. You have to put like 3 extra tasks of your choosing that you have to do every day, and you can change them each day, depending on what's going on and what you need to get done. Wow. I sometimes will work like a 10 to 12 hour shift. So on those days, me going to the store and talking to a random person that I don't know, probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I can choose things that like I can choose to like, if I want to make sure I get to the point where I can do like a full splits, I can stretch for 20 minutes on that day. Or I can go through and like throw one punch 200 times at some point during that day. Or I can pick things that are difficult but achievable.
Yeah.
Because then you win the day.
Yeah, and if you
win the week,
if you win you win the day to win the week to win the month to win the year,
and then you win the life,
and then you win life. Yeah, exactly. Winners just win, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a winning ladder,
It is, and it's so funny because people, I think, they overestimate how much they can accomplish in a year, and they underestimate how much they can accomplish in a month. Because I mean, we end up wasting too much time each day. Like, and if you just focus on achieving a small amount of things each day, those things are going to add up.
Mm-hmm.
And it tightens you up.
For sure.
Tightens your day up. Tightens your time up.
Yeah, and then right now I feel like there's very little time that I waste. I have a couple days a week where if there happens to be no work going on, I'll be at home and I'll finish all of my tasks before 3. And I'll be sitting there going, man, I can actually relax and do something that I would normally not want to do. Or I could go for another run. It's weird. You get really weird when you start really tightening up your schedule and like really killing it. You're like, hey, I could be pushing even harder right now. Like, there's room for it. Why not?
Well, and you begin to, the things that you dread, you begin to enjoy.
Yes.
Which is a weird paradigm shift.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, I remember waking up early. And I've been one that has never been able to sleep very well.
Yeah.
And I've always been challenged there, like just falling asleep, putting myself at rest, and staying asleep. And I started this thing with like the waking up early at 4:30 in the morning.
I see your posts online.
Every morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every morning.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm asleep. If my wife's got something to tell me, she needs to tell me before I lay down. Like, if there's something we got to deal with or talk about, like, you better tell me before my head hits that pillow, because within 5 minutes, it's lights out, baby.
You're done.
And I'm done. And the amount of joy that I got out of that, because I've never been able to do that, is so much. It was so freaking hard.
Right.
The first like 3 weeks of me doing that, I was a zombie.
Oh yeah.
Because I would wake up early, but like an hour later, I'd be like, man, I'm freaking tired. I'm tired. I gotta and it took me a few weeks to like get into this program of like, it's 11 o'clock at night, and I've got to wake up at 4:30.
You got to reprogram yourself.
Yeah. So now, like at 9 o'clock, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm an old man now. I want to go to bed.
Right.
I'm tired. I get cranky.
You've also put a lot more work into the day, though.
Yeah, but it's allowed me to do, like you were saying earlier, I have free time. I have time to where I'm like,
I think people underestimate how much free time they actually have. Like the first kickback that most people will give to like doing a program like this is, oh, I don't have the time. There's not enough time in the day. No, there's enough time. You're just filling it with garbage.
Yeah. You're filling it with a lot of garbage.
A lot of garbage.
And a lot of it's self-inflicted. Some of it's not, but a lot of it's self-inflicted.
Well, and I think part of it is our culture. Like, our culture says, like, oh, if you're tired or injured, if you sit down, you will start to feel better.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, that's not completely true.
Or take this.
Or take this magical drug that's going to fix everything. So have you heard of active recovery before?
Yes, but I don't know too much about it.
Okay, so I stumbled into it on accident.
Okay.
Because when I'm doing the 75 hard thing, like, there's been some days where the best I can do is a fast walk for 45 minutes.
Because something hurts.
Because something or everything hurts.
That's what I did this morning.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what you got to do. Now make sure that it's an active choice, and it's not something where like
your brain's
we're too tired. No. You have to make sure to make that clarification. But what I'll do is I'll start my run. And if something feels serious,
like, oh, this is
going to be an issue if I keep going, okay, stop, fast walk. And what I started finding out was that after that fast walk, I started feeling better. That muscle didn't feel quite as bad as it did when I started.
Yeah.
And what it is it's called active recovery. If you get your heart rate moving and your body heated up, the blood moves to that area more because you're moving that muscle still, even to some small degree. So it's getting nutrients pumped to it, and it's going to heal faster. It's an actual thing. I didn't even know about it, but I started noticing, oh, I feel pretty good now. That was hurting before, but now I feel great. You know, next morning, oh, I feel fine. Active recovery, the weirdest thing ever. Didn't know it was a thing. Wow. Absolutely love it now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, so like, you know, so moving forward, you know, and to where you want to go, it's interesting. You know, we all have dreams. We all have goals. I mean, each one of us does. And you probably saw with what you're doing in your life, you're like, oh, I'm not the best version of myself. And in order to pursue my dreams, I need to become the best version of myself.
Yes.
And so where do you know, with what the dreams you're going after, and, you know, how do you see that all working together, you know, down the road?
In the first phase of 75 Hard, there's going to be, you have to do 15 minutes of active visualization each morning. So you need to be thinking about what you want your life to look at. I mean, the thought of if you don't aim at anything, you're not going to hit anything, right? So I'm right now, I've already been kind of coming up with my mind of what I want my life to look like. You know, I want to have like my own dojo with a bunch of students that I'm teaching, and I get to live out that life. That's what I've always wanted. Actually, I shouldn't say I've always wanted. I always loved teaching, but I didn't necessarily think that I wanted to have my own dojo. But it's at some point I knew that I needed to do it, it was either that or just continue to wallow in self-pity. So you know what? We're doing it. We're just going for it. And so I want to try and put that in this town. I love Red Bluff. It's a nice little town. There's a lot of crazy stuff here, though. There's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of weird stuff happening at night. There's a lot of weird people too, but I mean, it's not any of the normals. Like, there's a lot of people that go through life and they're here in the town and they meet together. But you know who I'm talking about when I say stuff like that. Like, it's obvious. I want to try and improve this place for everybody. Like, I want to try and get to the point where I'm not just running a business here, but I'm helping this community as a whole. Like, I want to make improvements everywhere, and that was brought on by this idea of improving myself. Because by improving myself and building myself to my best version, I can be the best version for everyone around me. I want to make sure that my mind is as sharp as I can get it. I want to make sure my body is as sharp as I can get it. I want to make sure that my students, I'm doing the best I can for them. I want to make sure that I'm doing the best for my community as a whole, even if they aren't part of the school. I want to be able to affect everyone around me in such a way so that, and not necessarily build a legacy, but when I die, people are going to miss me. You know what I mean?
As opposed to just another name they read in the paper. Exactly.
Because so many of us, we go through life and we just do what we're supposed to. We go through, we have our family, we work our job, we're 9 to 5, we get paid, we move up in the company maybe a little, we have a few hobbies here and there, we get old, and then everyone else kind of moves on, and then eventually we just fade into nothing. And I want to go out with a bang. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be affecting the world around me until the day I die. And the only way I can do that is by becoming the best version of myself.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you got the school going here?
Yeah.
And are you at the rec center, or you got a building?
So we're at the rec.
Oh, sorry.
No. So we're at the rec center, but at the same time, I've been looking into actually getting a storefront, and the reason is because I think the people who are actually like running that have the land of. Hold on, my brain's not working for a second here. The people that own the storefronts, the actual structures in the area, are starting to realize that there's a lot of businesses in the area that just can't sustain, or they don't have a good business plan, or they don't know how to run a business, and they're failing within the first year that they're getting started. A lot of them. So the rent overall has been going down because people can't get people in these buildings to run a business that's actually profitable that can keep them going.
Oh, okay.
So it's starting to becoming way more feasible for me to actually have a storefront down here, and I'm not going to be paying much more than what I already am, or for rent over at the rec center.
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like a match made in heaven. Now, I don't think I'd be able to have like a huge room somewhere, but at the same time, I could probably get something. So it's been in the back of my mind. I'm getting ready to make a few phone calls to people and start seeing what kind of deals I can make. The only scary part is that if things go bottom up with where I'm at now, I can always stop for a month and then come back the next month and everything will be fine. But if I actually dig in and sign paperwork, there's no backing out. It is what it is.
You're diving off the high dive.
I'm diving. I'm in free fall at that point.
Yeah.
Burning the bridges behind you and saying, there's only way forward. You know?
Yeah, burn the boats, take the island.
There you go. Burn the boats, take the island. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
That's a movie quote.
Is it?
I think so. Is it a movie quote?
I don't remember where it's from, but at the same, it is a thought, and it's something that I've thought in the back of my mind for. I thought of it like several years ago probably after I heard it originally, okay. But it's something that's like, it's always you put yourself in that uncomfortable scenario. You know, everything that I've been doing has been making myself uncomfortable on purpose, and that's part of the like Sensei Hovis. When he did his podcast with you guys, he talked about how he'd had a deal made with the rec center so that way everybody can make profit. And the thing is I was like, yeah, you know what? That would be really smart for me to do. It'd also be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
do I want to be comfortable?
Yeah.
I don't think I do, because I think if I make myself uncomfortable, I think I can become a better martial artist. I think I can become a better business owner. And I'm surviving right now, but it's like by the skin of my teeth some months.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes the real job is paying for the dream job.
yep, exactly. And so I've made a lot of sacrifices the last couple of years in order to keep that going. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah,
love
I
it.
wasn't trying to belittle that.
No,
I was
no,
just
no, no.
saying that,
No,
like,
not-
because
Right.
we're living this situation
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah,
with the podcast thing, it's like it doesn't make any money,
Right.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast doing it. I learn a lot,
Likewise.
and like
I think the importance is that was this Thomas Howard said don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you alive.
yeah,
And then I think it's Thomas Howard. I think I might be quoting the wrong person, but at the same time, like it's if you're doing something that lights you on fire and makes you alive, burn for the world to see. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Well,
it's we need people who are alive.
what this does is like restocks the fuel tank.
Yeah.
Because like it's like-minded people,
Yeah.
and everyone's got their own perspective.
Yeah.
But it just relights that fire. It's
Right.
kindling for the fire.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And it's awesome, and it's great to see that although your situation is unique, and so is Tyler's and myself, we all have very similar issues.
Oh yeah.
You know,
we're all human.
You're not an island.
Yeah.
You're not out there on your own going, oh, nobody's lived this situation
Yeah.
but me. No, that's not the case. We've all had it. It's just a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know, it might not be your exact location, your exact issue, but I've had something similar.
Yeah.
Or somebody's had something that I can relate to.
Right.
And that's the thing. And that's what goes, oh yeah, hey, okay. I can't just be down on myself all the time.
No. Yeah.
So
But at the same time, that also, if you see someone who's succeeding over something that you know you're struggling with, if you emulate them,
you can duplicate their success.
You can duplicate their success.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I mean, a lot of people will. Like, I had one of my coworkers who I've been like poking at to start working harder on himself because he's young, and so he thinks he's going to live forever. I told him. He said, oh yeah, I don't want to do like a diet where I just copy someone. I'm like, well, if you look at someone who's being successful in what they're doing and you emulate them, you'll probably find the same success they do, and if not, you'll hit close.
Well, that's all life is, though.
I know.
Somebody opened a college.
Yeah.
Those weren't just
Yeah.
created out of thin air.
Right.
Somebody was like, hey, I need to create a place where people could get together and learn at a higher level.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody did that, you know. It wasn't just developed out of thin air. So in a sense, we're all following somebody or
Yeah.
something, you know.
Exactly.
So, but to be young and
I know, to be young and naive. Oh.
yeah. Tell me about it.
We all think we know everything until the world hits us in the face.
Well, we've been at it for an hour or so.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to like drop down, or Tyler, you got anything?
I think we covered a lot of it. I think hearing your story, you know, just knowing what you're going through, you know, and everything the changes you're making in your life, and then
really, it's a conversation within itself. Like there was barely any time to talk about martial arts because I have so much to say on this subject, and it's nice because you got me to talk about my hyperfixation for an hour. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, we can totally talk about martial arts because I'm down.
Oh no,
But I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear all this. This is really good.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
I would like to say that if anyone out there is thinking about doing 75 hard, make sure you do consult with your doctor beforehand because it is intense. So if you're, and just that's so no one gets sued.
Yeah. Can't get blood from a stone, dude.
Yeah, I know. I know, right? Hey, you know what? Honestly, we'll just cover bases.
Yeah,
Just make sure everyone's taken care of.
You should consult with your doctor before you do anything.
I am not a health professional.
No, absolutely. That was great. That was great. Well, yeah. Did I'm not trying to jump on anyone's parade there.
No.
Folks, thanks for listening again. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we have. It's always a good time to sit down with old friends and chat and talk about life and talk about martial arts, most importantly. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to us. Email the formlesspod@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at formless_the. Don't ask me why. And we have a Facebook group called The Formless Podcast, and we are on Instagram at The Formless Podcast. And yeah, that's it. Take care.